Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Don Lemon Show. We're going to begin with some breaking news right now. The former president has been charged. Well, he has been. There's been a development, I should say, in this hush money trial. The judge in this case has ruled that the former president has violated his gag order at least 9 times, and so now he has to pay up. I want to begin now with criminal defense attorney Mark Eiglarsh. Mark, thank you so much. Explain to us what this means for the former president.
Well, the judge made it very clear. You are not to talk about any potential witnesses in this criminal case. What did Trump do? He talked about potential witnesses in the criminal case. It was so basic arithmetic. 1 + 1 = violation. So out of the 10 times that the prosecution wanted him held accountable, the judge had him held him accountable 9 times, $1,000 fines, which is what the prosecutor requested, $1,000 each. And the judge warned, you do it again, you'll go to jail.
What was this for? Was this for what he says outside of the courtroom? Is it for what he says on social media? Because as you said, the prosecution had alleged that 10 times that he violated the gag order, but the judge only ruled on 9 of the counts. What was it for?
I don't know whether the comments were specifically made on social media or publicly, but it didn't matter. The judge didn't say you can say it in this forum, but not in this manner. Any comment whatsoever, whether it be social media or publicly. And I know that there were definitely a combination of both. And the judge found that to be in violation.
Mark, are you surprised by this, considering, people believe that he has been treated differently because he's a high profile case? Are you surprised that the judge went ahead and said, okay, look, you violated it, and if you continue to do it, he did say you could possibly end up in jail?
No, and Trump's not surprised either, and neither is his attorney. I think it's the cost of doing business. You say, okay, what's the worst that can happen? Worst that happens is I get, fined $1,000, which is probably what they spend on legal pads in a day, so what, right? But the value to his political campaign is he gets to say, and I can't even speak freely. It's un-American. I don't even get to say my thoughts. And there's some value to that. Most of the things that he would say are things that my clients say on a daily basis. They criticize the witnesses against them. The difference is it's Donald Trump, and there is an alleged history of intimidating witnesses, and it could affect the process of ensuring that there is a fair trial in this case. And that's why the judge imposed the gag order.
Well, going on what you said, every time he leaves the courtroom, whether it's for a recess or whether they are adjourned for the day, he goes out and he speaks in front of the cameras. And there are statements like this, even this morning in court, that could potentially get him into trouble. Let's listen.
Thank you very much. So we begin again. This is a case that should never have been brought. Every single major legal scholar, Jonathan Turley, Greg Jarrett, Andy McCarthy, Dershowitz, every single scholar, Mark Levin, the great Mark Levin, had a whole show on it last night, said that this is a disgraceful case. It's a disgrace to the New York state and city court system. And all of the cases are, frankly, all of them are. You probably saw last night that Jack Smith got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. It was released late last night, and it's a big story. The documents case is a hoax created by them for election interference purposes. And so that one looks like it's going asunder.
So his attorney standing next to him, Todd Blanchard, I'm sure he is, as an attorney, he's probably saying, just don't talk, just don't talk. Mark, he can't help himself.
Yeah, but hold on. I would zealously defend him on what he just said, because that doesn't violate the gag order. He is allowed in the United States, wide latitude under the First Amendment that I cherish, to criticize a prosecution against him, to criticize those who bring the case, to hold in high regard those experts who think the case shouldn't be brought. All that is constitutionally protected. What he didn't do in that scenario is criticize specific witnesses who are testifying against him in the trial. That's what he did in violation of the gag order. But what you just played, yeah, problematic, frustrating for me if I'm defending him because I want him to just keep his mouth shut. But that doesn't violate the gag order.
But the problem with him is that you never know how far he's going to go. He may start there and then end up, because that was just a snippet of what he said this morning. But the trouble is with the former president, you don't know how far he's going to go. And as you said,
You're right.
it is frustrating,
You're
right?
right.
You would want your client to keep his mouth shut, but Donald Trump gives a little bit,
Yeah.
you give him a little bit and then he takes a mile.
Yeah, selfishly, I don't like visiting my clients at the jail. It takes longer. I just don't like going to the jail, So, just keep your mouth shut. Then I don't have to visit you at the jail. And that is a very realistic possibility. Most judges' egos are not their amigo. And if he does this again, if Trump does violate the gag order, the judge would have to do something more than just a fine. He's threatened what that would be. So you got to follow through on the next one.
Yeah, well, he's saying he could potentially go to jail, and that I would imagine the jail would be in the basement of the courthouse. I don't think they'd put a former president in Rikers, Mark. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know either. I think that the head of Rikers is saying, "Are you kidding me? I can't protect him there. How are we going to do this?" So I don't know. To me, that's more interesting than anything with the trial. I want to know how they would handle the incarceration of the former leader of the free world.
Well, listen, even if he does it 50 times, right? If he violates, it's $50,000 for him, because here's what the CBS News is reporting, that Mershon wrote that New York law doesn't allow him to impose a fine higher than $1,000 per violation, which unfortunately, this is a quote, will not achieve the desired result in those instances where the defendant can easily afford such a fine. He said a higher fine might be appropriate in those cases, but since he does not have that discretion, the court must therefore consider whether in some instances jail may be a necessary punishment. So he's saying it is definitely on the table.
Here's my prediction. He knew the first round was free, right? He knew he would just have to, pay monetary fines, which is nothing. He's smart enough to know that the next step could realistically be jail. And I know his lawyers are telling him that. And they're in his face saying that. I think that probably will do the trick. I think he'll still criticize, but he's smart enough to know where the line is and how not to cross that line.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He figures out where the line is and not to cross it. And then he will do, like he'll say, I retweeted something, which wasn't a violation because I didn't write it. And then the judge will say, okay, well, now you can't do this. So then the judge has to keep moving the goalpost on this.
Well, the judge doesn't necessarily have to. Donald has to move further away from it. Anything that relates to criticism of potential witnesses, you can't do. And I think he gets that. I do. I think he just thought that there would be a benefit, a greater benefit to his campaign to be able to say those things about those witnesses. He's gotten it out there. And maybe I'm giving him too much credit, but I think he knows the next time could lead to the stripping of his liberty, and he doesn't want to go there.
Well, just to buttress what I just said, Mark, because in his defense, Trump attorney Todd Blanche has argued that the president should not be found in violation of a gag order when reposting or retweeting content from others who are criticizing the trial and his witnesses. And this is what he says. Todd Blanche, an attorney, argued that his client was responding to political attacks in his posts and did not believe that he was violating the gag order when reposting or quoting others. Mershon repeatedly asked him to name the precise attacks Trump was responding to, but Blanche could not do so. So that's what I mean. He finds a new line, right? And he gets close to it. And then the judge has to keep reassessing.
Here was, to me, the worst part about the argument that the defense lawyer made. Not so much what he did. He zealously defended his client in a very effective way, or the best way he could. The worst part is the judge actually said publicly, "You are losing credibility with me." Some words like that. I know what that feels like. You're arguing, this is the battle. This isn't the war. The war is the actual criminal case where your client's liberty is at stake. The battle is over what's going to happen with a gag order. Like, that's parking tickets to Charlie Manson. Like, who cares, right? So when he's making these arguments, the worst that can happen is not that his client gets fined $1,000 or so, but that you lose credibility in the eyes of the judge, so that future arguments, like trying to move to dismiss it after the government rests their case, or trying to get certain rulings down the road in your favor, when you lose credibility with a judge, that's a problem for your client.
Mark Eiglarsh, I know that you are not a political pundit, but I have been watching you for years, and I've interviewed you before, so you know about Trump and, how he feels and how his supporters feel. When I posted on social media that the judge, breaking news, the judge has issued a ruling on the Trump gag order of him violating the gag order, what his supporters said, I mean, the majority of them said, yeah, go ahead and put him in jail. Then you're going to reelect him. Go ahead and put him in jail. It is a defiance, really, of the judge and of the court system.
Yeah, I think I said it earlier, and I'm staying as neutral as possible because I don't necessarily enjoy hate mail. But I'm just speaking from the heart. I believe that it was very calculated. Trump is very bright in terms of, look, he didn't get elected to the presidency without being very savvy. He knows that criticizing those who are pointing their finger at him and trying to prove that he committed criminal acts, he needs to do that. He needs to do that to defend himself. And having a judge who is gagging him speaks to his base, saying, this judge is not even fair and doesn't allow people to exercise their First Amendment free speech.
Defendant is hereby warned that the court will not tolerate continued willful violations of its lawful orders, and that if necessary and appropriate under the circumstances, it will impose an incarceratory punishment, Mershon wrote in the order, so meaning he could go to jail. Mershon wrote that Trump has until 2:15 p.m. today, Mark, to remove posts violating the order from his social media account and campaign website. Trump has until close of business on Friday to submit the $9,000 penalty that Mershon levied against him.
Yes, so that's exciting to see if he removes it. I predict he does. Yeah. And there's 4 more alleged violations of the gag order that will be heard coming up soon. Now, the judge can't throw him in jail because those alleged statements that violated the gag order preceded the judge saying you would go to jail. So those are just additional fines, another $4,000 on the table. And I expect him to probably hold him accountable on those too.
So right after making this announcement and before resuming there with this, Gary Farah, who is a witness, before the direct examination of him, Mershon also informed the parties that Trump will be able to attend his son Barron's high school graduation in May, as Trump had requested. He said, this is a quote from the judge, "I don't think that the May 17 date is a problem, so Mr. Trump can certainly attend that day, attend his son's graduation," Mershon said. Trump had been telling people that he was forbidden to attend his son's graduation, which was really a flat out lie because the judge had not ruled on that yet. But today he has said May 17th.
Well, that's good to hear. We have lives. I've been in long trials, and I'm grateful when judges give me the opportunity to be a dad and a husband and understand that there's room for me to have a life outside the courtroom. I'm glad the judge did that here. It's the right thing.
I think we can all agree on that. Mark Eiglarsh, thank you so much, criminal defense attorney. We appreciate you joining us here on the Don Lemon Show with the breaking news. We'll see you soon.
My pleasure. Be well done. Take care.
Thank you. Okay, Mark, it's got to upload.